What's happening out there on a Saturday night? Hope you ain't as fucking unpleasantly hot as I am out here in Los Angeles, California. It is I, once again, your handsome, humble, heavyweight host, the Lunchbox. That is one word, capital L, capital B. Thank you very much. And welcome to the fourth official, but yet second live edition of Make the Call. Those of you who know me know that I am a professional orator in the professional sport of professional wrestling, and I love nothing more than going back and watching old wrestling matches and remembering the moments that made it great. But even better than that sometimes is going back and pulling up old matches that are absolute dog shit and reacting and reviewing those with friends of mine. Now, when I make the call, I don't just call a match. I call a friend. And the other night, you guys were privy to my first live episode with the one and only best looking everything Blacklist Pro Wrestling heavyweight champion, Jason Hastings. We had a good time watching some Revenge Pro Wrestling, and it was actually a really solid match. But tonight, I'm going to do something a little different, and he's going to be a little happier with me. My second episode of Making the Call featured our guest tonight. He is the Central Valley's favorite son. He is the godfather of www.pirateflagradio.com, where you are listening to this on Tuesday afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. on the East Coast. And that would be, give me a second, that would be 11 p.m. in Botswana. But let me introduce to you the man, the myth, the legend, number 24 in your programs, but always number 2 in your hearts right behind me. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Mike Vanek, and he done sucks. What's up, brother?
What's up, dog?
How's it going this evening out there in lovely Bristol, Virginia?
Well, the better half banged her head on the wall earlier. That was fun.
Thoughts and prayers,
started another job at the casino.
Another job at the casino? How many jobs you got, man?
Well, they moved me to the kitchen, and then we're getting ready to open 3 new restaurants on Tuesday, and I'm the dishwasher for the 3 restaurants.
Right. Working with a bunch of young people, as you were complaining to me about the other night.
Man, I had a kid who is James and Haley's age tell me that I need to be better, and he literally told me to fuck off in the employee fucking cafeteria. And I thought that was funny because I'm sitting there thinking my kids are this guy's age. So
you're also complaining to me about the lingo the other day.
Yeah. Every time you say something, these kids just look at you and say, "Heard."
Well, that's because they heard you.
Yeah, but it's like, that's all they say.
Well, it's been a while since you worked in a kitchen, Mike Vanek. You got to relearn the lingo. Just like everything else, you know.
I'm not a dishwasher no more. I'm a steward.
You're a steward. Well, that sounds like some skibbity bullshit right there.
Okay.
So anyway, what's the weather like out there in beautiful Bristol, Virginia?
It is hot. It's not as hot as it is out there, but it is humid as fuck.
How hot is it?
It's probably, well, right now it's about 71. And today's high was 90 with 80% humidity.
Oh. Yeah, it's a little on the sticky side, man.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
Well, I just got a notification right now that said tomorrow's high will break the record. So let's see, what are we looking at? Tonight, it is a balmy 95 degrees Fahrenheit at 9:37 p.m. here in lovely Los Angeles, California. And tomorrow, we're going to hit it's saying we're going to hit 109.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, yeah, no, like there's also a rumor it might actually hit 19. So fuck all that. Like it's gonna be another hiding in the inside of the
117 degrees.
It made 112 today.
Yeah, I think the hottest I've done was 110, and I'll tell you all
Yeah,
about it.
apparently I'm living in fucking Death Valley now.
Back in my more devious days, when I was camping a lot, uh, I used to go out by McHenry Wreck on the Stanislaus River. I'd camp out there, and I think the hottest day I ever did was 110 degrees in a fucking Boy Scout tent.
Eee,
Yeah,
that's pretty hideous.
yeah. Well, well, you know me. I don't. Back then, I didn't go to bed till the sun came up. I was a fucking vampire. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you know, go find a place to crash. You wake up 4 hours later because it's 100 fucking degrees.
Could
And
not
in a
be
tent,
ready than anything. So let's talk a little bit. I know we did this on the show the other day, but tell us about your experience in wrestling as far as your fandom. Like, what kind of wrestling are you into? Who are some of your favorites of all time? Go ahead.
well, that's a hard question. Um,
I didn't ask your definitive favorite. I said some of them.
okay, well, let's start at the beginning. I'm a big fan of the NWA. NWA in California was called Big Time Wrestling, and they were based out of the Cow Palace in San Francisco. Now, they would be there every Monday night, and that'd be the big show. But every other night, one night they were in Stockton, one night they were in Richmond, one night they were in Modesto, and someday I'll show you that arena. But Fresno, Sacramento at the Memorial Auditorium where we saw Slayer, and there's a lot of good names there. Pepper Gomez, uh, the Crippler Ray Stevens, Pat Patterson. I'm also a big fan of wrestling from around here in the back in the day with the Crockett's and Smoky Mountain and all that stuff.
Yeah, what a lot of people who aren't old school like that might not realize is the NWA was a collection
Yeah.
of wrestling. It wasn't really per se a single federation. And what they did was it was a group of agreed upon people who basically shared talent. This is before wrestling had a
Hmm.
national, let alone an international platform.
Yeah.
So these guys would work as the phrase went, territory, which was, like Mike Vanek said, big time wrestling was the California territory, and they would run Modesto, San Francisco,
Mhm.
Stockton, Sacramento, and that whole loop.
And so every territory had their own TV, and if you lived in that territory, that's the only wrestling you knew of. Like for us, it started out when I was a kid. First, it was the Big Time Wrestling, and they were on Channel 44 in the Bay Area, which is still on. Then they were on Channel 2 in the Bay Area, which is still on. And then they were in Channel 40 in Sacramento, which is, TV stations we grew up on. And then they were on the next one that we got was AWA with Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens and Chief Wahoo McDaniel and fucking the Crusher and the Bruiser. Uh, Kurt Hennig was their world champion when I was watching that. Then we got the WWF when they took over. But I was also watching NWA because it came on Turner. And, when they came to the Cow Palace, my grandpa Lyle loved the Cow Palace. He'd go there for anything. And when I said, hey, dude, there's wrestling at the Cow Palace, can we go? Yeah, we'll go.
Right, it's the Cow Palace.
Yeah. I saw Super Clash 3 there. And I got to see one of the greatest world champions ever wrestle, Mr. fucking Nick Bockwinkel. Year or two later, I got to go see Ric Flair wrestle the Dusty Rhodes there.
My business partner Harshaw Smith is quite the Nick Bockwinkel fan.
Oh my God! Don't even get me started on Nick Bockwinkel.
I'm just saying, that's his guy.
He was
That's
one of
his
those.
all-time.
He was one of those Nature Boy Ric Flair, Nature Boy Buddy Rogers kind of guys where he spoke eloquently. He wore a fucking tailored suit every time he was on TV. He was the consummate professional, and if you ask any motherfucking wrestler, they're going to tell you Nick Bockwinkel's in top 5 of all time. And I believe that.
Like I said, that's Harshaw Smith's number 1.
Yeah. Big fan of WCCW World Class Championship Wrestling. Have you seen the Iron Claw yet?
I have not. I have been avoiding watching it. You're the second person to bring it up to me this week. My primo brought it up to me the other day.
I love it, and I hate it at the same time.
It makes you feel. I mean, what a story with the Von Erichs.
Yeah.
It's a sad story, but it's a hell of a story.
But I want to talk about sad stories from that territory. You got to talk about Bruiser Brody, dude. Bruiser Brody went to fucking Puerto Rico, wouldn't do a job to put this Jose Gonzalez, Invader #1. I watch WWF wrestling with him on it all the time. And it's just, he wouldn't put him over. And he had just had this shit where his kid had died and he's fucking, hella pissed off. Bruiser Brody's like, fuck that, I ain't doing it. You know what I mean? And this guy's like, well, come on in here in the shower, we need to talk. He pulled out a fucking knife that big and stabbed him in the fucking stomach.
And to this day, there have been no convictions.
No convictions.
There's no proof.
He picked up his keys in his bag, drove home, changed his clothes, and went back to the show. You know what I mean?
That's the prevailing theory.
Yeah. Well, that's
what people that may or may not have been in the vicinity have said. But either way, so the point is, let's not stray too far off track. So the point is, Mike Vanek is a fan of the older wrestling. You just heard everything he was talking about. He is an NWA, WCCW, early WCW kind of guy.
WWF.
Right. That's Mike Vanek's stuff. Mm-hmm. When you're online in the wrestling forums, 99% of the time, you're dealing with all these attitude era cats. Mike Vanek is not one of them.
No.
So that being said, the other night I made Mike Vanek watch an independent ladies match because he has expressed multiple times that up until recently, and even as it is now, ladies matches is something that's always been hard for him to get into. Up until we had the women's revolution here a few years ago, the women's matches were sideshows, mild attractions. Some would even treat them as a popcorn match.
You brought up something that reminded me of a way that I used to feel. Remember when we went and saw wrestling at Arco Arena?
In the box?
Yeah, in the box. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to piss. He's like, well, you're not going to watch this match? Like, that's not wrestling to me. And back in the day, it was just hot chicks in fucking shorts. They knew how to arm drag and fucking do their finisher. But that was not wrestling. It was pulling hair and shit. Today,
especially at that time.
Today, dude, Dr. Britt Baker, who I wish was in WWE. What's her name? The new girl that they got from AEW. With the white hair.
Timeless Tony Storm.
No.
Oh, Jade Cargill?
Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill is the future of fucking wrestling.
She's one of those. Every so often we get like a Glamazon Beth Phoenix, a big strong lady who is still very feminine, but still just
she's pretty as hell, dude. You know what I mean?
And a monster.
And bro, she is going to be the next Becky Lynch, the next Charlotte Flair, the next Bayley, the next household name. You know what I mean?
Jury's out on that. To me,
I think she's got she's got all 5 tools. You know what I mean? She's just green.
Yeah.
Green as grass. Green as goose shit.
She is and by the way, I do not condone Mike Vanek using inside baseball terms. That is his thing. You won't hear that out of me. But, as far as things go, she's the equivalent to a Goldberg or when they started a Brock Lesnar. Someone
I like the Brock Lesnar comparison more. I think she's a female. She's a female fucking Brock Lesnar. She is fucking ripped.
Have the natural ability that Brock does, though.
She's got the natural athleticism, though.
Yes, 100%. I'll
And Brock
co-sign that.
Lesnar is the most athletic professional wrestler I've ever seen, said Kurt Angle.
No, Brock Lesnar is probably a better athlete than Kurt Angle. What Brock Lesnar did not do is naturally pick it up the way Kurt Angle did.
Kurt Angle is the greatest fucking athlete I've ever seen in my life. And the last thing I ever did with my grandfather was watch Kurt Angle fucking win a gold medal. The broken fucking neck.
It's a broken freaking neck, all right?
I'm like,
not that I care about editing, I care about accuracy. So
I'm
anyway,
Modesto's favorite son. I could say whatever I want.
Central Valley's favorite son. If I'm gonna give you a moniker, get it right. Anyway,
I am from Central Valley.
Moving forward, so that was the thing, is like Mike Vanek said, there was a time when to him women's wrestling wasn't wrestling, and there was a time it wasn't. Nowadays, these ladies are athletes. These ladies are they've been in the trenches. They're treated with the equal respect they deserve. They're treated with the equal opportunity that they deserve to main event, WrestleManias even.
Yeah.
So that being said, though, I had him watch one of those matches, and it was a lot better than expected. It was more close to this era's version of women's wrestling than it was prior.
And I went and checked out that Fed, and they're pretty cool.
Solid federation. So, but Mike Vanek keeps trying to pull the, hey, I'm gonna throw a request. Hey man, let's watch some School of Morton shit. Hey man, let's watch some 1970s NWA with Terry Gordy, fighting Tracy Smothers in a hair versus hair match, like some shit like that. And I'm just like, dude, you don't make the calls, I do. But that being said,
coal miner's glove on a pole match.
That being
said, fucking Metroplex in downtown suburban Chicago.
That being said, I somewhat acquiesced to your request a little bit tonight.
Oh, did you?
I did. We might get the band hammer on this one, brother. When did you come from that? My wife just walked out the front door and then came back out and scared the shit out of me. She's pulling my maneuvers. So
you didn't scream them.
I didn't. I got ready to throw this beer at you though. There's a Gator light in the fridge for you to help combat this heat. I just want to say, if I seem a little meaner than usual, fuck you. It was 113. It is 9:50 at night and it is 94 degrees. It is awful. My wife, son, and I have all just been unpleasant as fuck to each other all day. And
yeah, but don't you guys have your own water
park? Mechanic, and people are out here celebrating the 6th of July, apparently, still setting off fucking fireworks.
Yeah, but don't you have your own water park?
It was too hot for that. Like, you didn't want to be in the sun, dude. Like, it is oppressive.
Never too hot for a water park.
No, dude, like,
it was hot as fuck when we went to the water park.
It wasn't this hot, dude. This is a record for today, and we get another one tomorrow, probably. So, like I said, if I'm a little more unpleasant than usual, y'all can fucking suck it. And thank you for tolerating me. If you live here, you understand. So, I went on back, and I pulled up something from 1986. May 9th, 1986, to be precise. Now, of course, everybody knows the names and Steve Williams, Dr. Death himself.
Okay. Steve Williams is Stone Cold Steve Austin, right?
Yes. And I was actually wondering if this might have been him, and I haven't watched it. So if I'm wrong that it's not Dr. Death, it's Stone Cold.
It could be one of two Hall of Famers.
Right. Plus another Hall of Famer, plus two other Hall of Famers on the other side of the ring. Now, those of you who rocked wrestling in the late 80s, early 90s will remember a young man by the name of the Ultimate Warrior.
Jim Hellwig?
Yes, but most people might not know that. What
the
they
Dingo
also don't
Warrior?
know, huh?
Remember when he was the Dingo Warrior?
I do remember when he was the Dingo Warrior. But you know what, Mike Vanek? Fuck the Ultimate Warrior. Fuck the Dingo Warrior. We are taking it further back.
Oh, God.
Now, everybody I know knows of an icon, a legend, the man who used to hide up in the rafters and descend down and beat the whole NWO with a bat. And that man was named Sting. But long before he was Crow Sting, or the icon, as it were, and long before he was even the California Kid, the Stinger, woo! He and the Ultimate Warrior were in a tag team together in the great sunny state of California, and they were known as the Blade Runners. Blade Runner Rock, and I forgot the other one's name. And I don't even know which one's which. So we're about to find out. So I present to you, Mike Vanek, a tag team classic from May 9th, 1986.
So that's 3 days before my 7th birthday.
This is 3 days before. This was your 7th birthday present, Mike Vanek. We got it early for you. So anyway, here we are. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Blade Runners versus Steve Williams and Ted DiBiase.
Is this from
Don't know.
Mid-South?
Don't even know.
All right, hit play.
So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. If you decide to pull it up, that's Blade Runners versus Steve Williams and Ted DiBiase, 1986, 05, 09. And we're going to go ahead and start it from nothing. The 0 button. Here we are. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. All right, let's come on. There they are, dude. Look at Sting and look at Ultimate Warrior, dude.
Yeah.
Like
this is definitely Mid-South wrestling. If I could hear the commentary, I could tell you.
Did you ever? All right, let me turn that up for just a second. The great hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert.
He was married to
the great tag team in wrestling today, the tag team of the 80s. The original Masters of Disaster. I am very proud and honored to bring to you Rock and Steve, the Blade Runners.
Oh, so he was Sting back then. Dude, look how fucking big Sting is.
Yeah, I know.
So you heard the introduction of the Blade Runner, Rock and Sting by Eddie Hot Stuff Gilbert, as the fans here in the Coliseum get ready for the entrance of the team of Ted DiBiase.
Gotta feel bad for Eddie Gilbert.
Williams. Jim Ross is here at ringside, and with the entrance.
Oh yeah, this is Mid-South.
Expect a tremendous showdown.
This is Cowboy Bill Watts territory in Oklahoma, Louisiana, and some parts of Texas.
I'm going to go ahead and drop that commentary again.
Yeah, go ahead. Don't want to get that band hammer.
I was going to say, they might not notice the video for a while, but they'll certainly notice the audio real fucking fast.
Yeah, Jim
especially
Ross
with good old JR on the call. Rebel flags everywhere, dude. Dr. Death.
I got rebel flags down the street from my house. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, at a wrestling show, out in the middle of public, you know, and look at that, how packed that crowd is. Look how energetic that crowd is.
Look how young Ted DiBiase looks.
Dude, it's crazy to see him. He's like in the $1 Million Man look, because there was a time when he didn't have the beard. No. He had a little less hair.
We'll do one of these, and I'll pick a match, and I'll get you an old Ted DiBiase match from the 1980, 1981.
Ted DiBiase and Dr. Death Steve Williams. Ted DiBiase with that little short feathered mullet, got it like he likes it, all fluffy. And then both of them wearing the fucking red, the red trunks, normally adorned by.
Do you know who his driving partner was at this time?
No.
Arn Anderson.
Ah. So yeah, Arn just loaned everybody his trunks, huh?
Nah, dude. Arn Anderson would drive Ted DiBiase's Trans Am to the towns. He had a like a Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am with the fucking bird on the hood, and he didn't want to drive. And Arn Anderson was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And Arn Anderson says on his podcast that he learned the most about wrestling from Ted DiBiase driving his Trans Am.
All right, here we go. Collar and elbow tie up by Ted DiBiase, and look at the way Sting like shoves him away.
That's a very signature Sting thing too.
Yeah, but just look how sloppy it was. Sting over here with his crop top.
Dude, he's still a kid in this match.
Yeah, totally. Crop top, buffer than he, kind of more shredded than he used to be. Ultimate Warrior's still big. I'm sorry, Blade Runner Rock is still as big as a fucking house.
He slimmed down when he started working out with Ric Flair.
Well, yeah, because it became less about the muscle mass and the bodybuilding and more about the cardio.
Yeah.
Like, that was the clear difference between
Cardio
WWF.
has to be the most important thing for a professional wrestler.
Agreed, but I mean, as I was saying, that was kind of the difference between WWF and WCW or NWA at the time. Is WWF was the land of the big hulking monsters, who impress you with a few power moves, beat up an enhancement talent, so on and so forth. Whereas NWA was more likely to have the hour-long cardio, machine workout.
So this used to be at this time, this was still a NWA territory, Mid-South Professional Wrestling. A couple years, maybe a year or two after this, they turned into the UWF. Sorry.
So anyway, proceed.
Shortly after they turned into the UWF, they sold their company to Jim Crockett. And he combined everything, and that's when Jim Ross started commentating for the Crockett's.
See, and you look at this, a drop kick by Ted DiBiase, second drop kick. And Ted DiBiase didn't do that shit in WWF at all. Like, Ted DiBiase did not throw drop kicks. He did not leave his feet. He was a slow, methodical, Ric Flair-esque style wrestler.
Yeah. Very technical style. He's probably one of the best. Like him and Tully Blanchard, there's a good match in WrestleMania or no, SummerSlam 89. It's, him versus Tully Blanchard in a tag team match, and it's an outstanding match.
Man, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert was such an incredible mouthpiece. If you're not, old enough to know who he was, because he died rather young, like go back and look him up. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert was some shit. He was my favorite on the WCW game for fucking NES.
I remember that. He was the guy that got Paul Heyman hooked up with ECW.
It's just so crazy to see Sting not be leading the dance, to be, new and like he's grabbing a headlock and, he doesn't have him forced down. He doesn't, like
Ted DiBiase's got a really solid base going too.
Well, like Ted DiBiase's over here, you can see Ted talking to him, trying to coach him a little bit, because Sting's just like, holy shit, like we're in front of a packed ass house somewhere in the South. I don't know what the fuck to do. Ted's like, I got you, kid. All right, let my head go, please. Nope. See, and this is what I'm saying. In today's environment, this would be a slow-paced, boring match per the standard wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Well, I disagree. I think this is solid. It's a slow burn. They're building up. This was probably the main event. Ultimate Warrior just got that straight in the chest.
No, I think the main event would probably have been Junkyard Dog. Hold
on. 86, JYD was in WWE or WWF.
He was.
Tag in, Dr. Death, Steve Williams. Dr. Death, Steve Williams. One of the most legitimately scary dudes in wrestling. Tag into Blade Runner Rock, a.k.a. Jim Hellwig, a.k.a. the Ultimate or the Dingo Warrior, depending on when you're talking about. Look how fucking big he is, dude, even back then.
Professional bodybuilder, bro.
And now what's funny is we're talking about how Sting, got even better and how DiBiase, changed his style and whatnot. We're probably going to see the standard Ultimate Warrior shit. Like, he's going to do the same shit he did all the way up until he stopped wrestling, except for he might not run.
Very green at this time.
This motherfucker never got past green, dude. Motherfucker setting off mortars around the corner from my house.
We woke up to mortar canisters on our back porch.
Sounds about right. And look at just the way Dr. Death, like, when they shoulder tackled back in the day, they ran through him. Like, he wasn't like, all right, take this nice crisp back bump or any of that. He's like, no, fuck that. I'm going to run through you. All right, just be ready. Go limp.
It's funny because I could find information about every other match around this time except for this one.
No shit.
I just Googled it, dude.
You Googled it, huh?
I had to get some information. Well, I wanted to know what town this was in.
I like walking into stuff like this blind. If we turned up the commentary, they probably would have told us.
Yeah. So this is probably a midweek show because that looks like a small arena. And for Mid-South, they were running from everything from a high school gym to the Superdome in New Orleans.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you look in the back, you can see the curtains are probably 50 feet back.
Yeah.
And that's like the blacked out wall curtains on the theater.
Is that referee Tommy Young?
Tommy Young. Not sure. I think so.
NWA Hall of Famer Tommy Young.
And like I was saying earlier about Dr. Death, one of the most legitimately scary dudes in professional wrestling, national champion out of the University of Oklahoma, like just a monster on the mat. And then he went over to Japan, did hella brutal matches, because this was the day when wrestlers had to be like bona fide bar fighter tough guys.
Yeah.
That was their thing. They did a lot of like athletes, and they still do today. But I mean, most of these guys were just like badasses.
This was the time when the promoters were telling them to go out to the bars and stuff. And if they lost a fight, they got fired.
Ultimate Warrior over here pulling the chokes and shit. Like, it's weird. It's so weird.
He's more calm and subdued.
Right. He's not running amok.
Yeah, he's not grabbing the ropes and shaking them every 5 seconds.
Not as colorful either.
It's a great match.
Actually, yeah, it's a solid tag team slow burn. But that's why I'm saying I think this is your main event. Because a normal tag team match in the middle of a card would not have this slow of a build.
Yeah.
Like it'd have been over.
If not main event, semi-main.
Right. We're at 12 and a half. It's a 16-minute match. And in all reality, it's been tie-ups, headlocks, shoulder tackles, and a couple drop kicks.
Well, basically, Sting and Warrior are still students at this point. And having a match against Ted DiBiase and Dr. Death is a pretty big deal for these kids.
Oh, yeah, they probably freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, you could see fucking when Sting had that headlock on Ted, and Ted was standing straight up, and had it, made it look like he was trying to use his head to break it. It was more along the lines of that was when Ted was giving him advice.
Yeah. Oh, look how stiff that knee was.
Well, like I said, DiBiase straight kicked Hellwig right in the chest on that drop kick, mostly because Hellwig ran right into it.
Yeah. Steve Williams was a legend in Japan by this point.
Oh, yeah. No, Dr. Death was big shit. And it is funny how things came to pass where they planned to bring him into the WWF and, you know, have him win Brawl for All and whatnot. He got knocked out in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, good evening, Jordan. Thanks for joining us.
Still on drugs?
I don't know. Jordan, are you still on drugs over there? See, it was funny. That was where you could see Sting's inexperience. They both collided, and Sting kind of fell forward and then snapped back, whereas Dr. Death, crispy, straight to the ground.
You could see he's talking to him.
Yeah, well, see, that was the thing. Sting was such a student of the game that, you know, this whole time, every time he was in there with one of these guys, he was just like, all right, tell me everything you can in this moment, please. But Jordan says, no, she is still not on drugs. And why would we believe her? She's on drugs. So.
The first step is accepting that you have a problem, Jordan. Listen, you couldn't have picked a better match for me.
I knew you'd enjoy this. Dr. Death, you know,
it's a great sell right there.
And tag in just straight to the cover. See, I tried to find the Blade Runners versus the Road Warriors, and I could. This came up first, and I was like, "No, that's even more interesting." Babyface tag, Dr. Death tags in DiBiase, bunch of jabs followed by a stiff forearm, back body drop, straight right hand to the fucking Blade Runner Rock. Dr. Death heading off Jim Hellwig at the pass. That patented Ted DiBiase right hand on the floor, dude. All hell is broken loose. Tommy Young can't get any control of this. Oh, that was slick.
1, 2. Yep,
3.
got him.
That was slick.
Yeah, that was a hell of a finish. Well, shit, brother. You picked a great match.
I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you liked it.
All 4 are Hall of Famers.
Every last one of them.
Yeah.
All right, let me unshare this screen real quick before we wind up watching me and Hastings watch together.
So, before we go, that was a good territory back in the day, that Mid-South territory.
Oh, look at that crowd, man. They were packed in there like sardines.
Yeah. Let's see.
Figured you had more to say on the subject.
I'm getting there. So, this is when they were owned by Bill Watts. It turned into UWF in 1986. So, that was right before they broke away from the NWA.
Okay. Once again, you know, I can always count on you to be my wrestling historian, especially in this era.
Mm-hmm. So they were on TV in Oklahoma and Louisiana from 1981 to 1986.
Okay, so that could have been Oklahoma or Louisiana.
Yeah. Their stars were Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh.
Ted DiBiase. The Junkyard Dog. Butch Reed.
Who's really over in Florida, I hear.
Yeah. And Tito Santana.
Chico.
Yeah. A bunch of good wrestlers in this territory. So that's just a that's a great example of how Vince McMahon cherry picked the best from every territory.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's kind of how it goes. You know, when there's a good crop all the way around, that's when things, you know, as the great Macho Man would say, that's when the cream rises to the crop. You know,
Macho Man's father had a territory.
huh?
Macho Man's father had a territory in it was an outlaw territory around Memphis and Arkansas.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's the thing. As he said, the cream always rises to the crop. I mean, that's what we're kind of seeing right now. Like, you didn't watch Money in the Bank today, so you missed Jacob Fatu's initial performance in the WWE.
Well, I'm about to go watch it, so
It's worth it. It's worth it. I'm not gonna say it's the best pay-per-view of all time, but I had a good time.
So, in closing, what grade would you give the current WWE product?
Hey, easy.
Yeah.
Easy right now. Right now, they're hitting on all cylinders. They're telling the stories people want to hear. They're, making the stars people want to see made. And, you know, the one thing you got to remember about it is you can't pay attention to these online wrestling fans.
No,
the internet wrestling community, the marks, as it were, like you can't pay attention to them, because in the end, wrestling fans are never fucking happy. You know, straight up. If it's one thing happened, the opposite should have happened. If this guy, you know, who we've been clamoring to win a title, wins a title, we stop caring in a week. Like,
we have been watching. Go ahead.
It's one of the reasons why I just kind of sit back and enjoy my favorite art. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Our great sport evolves. There are good times, there are bad times. I remember a bunch of both from every company. Like, you know, I just try to let it be what it's going to be, not get too invested in it, and try to enjoy it.
Well, speaking of the history of our great sport, we've been watching wrestling together for 23 years, and give or take. And you will be the first one to say that I always have something to bitch about.
Always.
Oh,
you're Mark.
Yeah. And when I worked in the wrestling industry, I learned there's a difference in people that know about wrestling and the people that think they know about wrestling. These people on the internet think they know about wrestling.
I try not to get in my head, because I like to think of myself as somebody who doesn't know anything about wrestling. And I've been told the opposite. You know, I've been told I have a good mind for it and so on and so forth. That's great and all. Mm-hmm. I would rather kind of let it be what it's going to be and just enjoy what other people are doing. If it's a product I'm working on, like if Blacklist is involved, I have to care what we do. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, why am I going to get all worked up about something I can't care about or I can't do anything about?
I did everything you could do as a local small town music promoter. My favorite memories were being the ring announcer for Pro Wrestling Bushido at the Fat Cat. It just, and you'll agree with this, working in the wrestling industry is a different animal. And there is nothing more enjoyable than seeing a show be successful, from the planning stage to the booking meeting to the final match. You know what I mean? I've seen some legends in the ring. And I'm just saying, man, you know, there's nothing more enjoyable than professional wrestling.
You know, like I said, it's my favorite form of entertainment too. You know, and that's exactly how I told when I went to StarCast and we did the meet and greet with Cody Rhodes so we could meet Pharaoh. And that was why I told him is thank you for what you're doing for my favorite form of entertainment right now. You know, and I didn't know what he was going to do in the next 5-6 years. Like, Jesus. But it was, you know, and that's the way I look at it. It's my favorite form of entertainment. And, you know, it's not for everybody, but it is, you know.
You coined a phrase a couple of minutes ago when you said it's your favorite form of art. And I agree with that 110%.
Thank
You
you.
know what I mean? It's
Like,
the most important thing to me besides music.
you know what? I would give it a higher importance to me over music at this point in my life. You know, and maybe that's just because that's the industry I'm more focused on of the side things I do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, you know, music as far as actual pure music is something I can enjoy with my son, but so is wrestling. You know, and it's pretty cool to sit down with him and watch wrestling. And the last couple of days, he's built a wrestling ring in the living room out of cushions and whatnot. And he's wrestled John Cena, Danhausen, and Angus Young. So, you know, I'm enjoying seeing that, bonding over that with him. You know, and seeing him do the things I used to do, where he wrestles a pillow and gives it a name.
How many
He
times has Jen made him watch the Adrian Adonis match?
Not as many times as you would think, but that's just because it's only recently he started to show real interest in watching or doing wrestling. So, but it's like I said, it's a little bit of everything. It's theater, it's athleticism, it's life. It's an action movie. Are you okay over there?
Cramping.
Mike Vanek is cramping, ladies and gentlemen. This is what happens when you reach 113 years old. And then you show your ass to everybody on the internet.
Oh! Oh!
Well, on that note, with Mike Vanek cramping, we're going to go ahead and get up on out of here. This has been the third edition, or fourth edition of Make the Call with your boy Lunchbox. You can find me at the Almighty Lunchbox on Instagram. I'll have a page for this pretty soon, maybe tonight, who knows. But and then you can also find this show amongst many others, including Transmissions in Exile, Punk Rock for the Soul, The Bloodletting, and Dive Bar Country with Trainwreck Moose Roberts. We got a slew of good hosts, good shows for you, and they're
He's
all
playing in
available.
Roanoke tonight.
He's playing in Roanoke tonight. He might get lost. He might solve the mystery. If any of us can, it's Moose fucking Roberts. So anyway, one more time, that is Make the Call, Pirate Flag Radio, www.pirateflagradio.com, streaming all over the world, into your homes, into your hearts. So always remember, come on back, because who knows who you're going to see and what we're going to watch when your old buddy Lunchbox